Components Live, trying something new.
We're doing it. What is it? What are we doing? What is Components Live? Tell us, guys.
Yeah. So, well, this is the first one. So I think we're not totally sure what it is yet. It's going to depend on how this goes. So that's for sure.
That's right.
So for people who know what Components is, which is a podcast, it's the same people. It's me, Patrick, it's Jared, it's Ren. And we thought it would be fun to do kind of like a weekly check-in where we just kind of chat about some stuff in the content space and, see what's going on in the world of content, which is probably going to also be the world of AI to some extent, because frankly, who can avoid that these days? But it's not Components Podcast, because we are also going to be doing that, right, Ron?
Yes, we are. We will have actually a couple of really fun series coming up where we have some specialized components podcasts. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So which season is it that we're coming out with? Is it
5? We're on 5 already.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. And actually, I would say it's maybe going to be back by popular demand, because I've actually had some people that I think are popular who demanded it. And not that we're popular; it's they're popular and they've demanded it that we do it. So I would call that back by popular demand.
Yeah, I would too.
I like that we're doing this live. Like the other one wasn't enough pressure. Let's make it live.
Oh yeah. So that's going to be the great part, is that what people don't realize about Components is that every Components episode was cut from about 45 minutes of us being us on video down to like 15 minutes of actual content. So this is supposed to be about 15 minutes every Friday. We'll see how much actual content is in this, which I think is a great segue into, Ren, what is it? What is the format for this?
Yeah, so this is the format of this is going to be pretty simple, pretty loose. We're also really open to suggestions. Like, what do y'all want to see? What do y'all want to talk about? But the way that we're approaching this now is that we're going to each come to the table every Friday with a couple of different news articles, different things happening that we want to talk about within the content space or somehow related to the content space. So we're not going to diverge too much, but we're each going to, bring that to the table, discuss it, talk about it, let you be a part of the conversation as well in the comments, in the chat. And then we'll wrap every single episode with some hot takes. And I'm just going to warn you now, mine are not the same as theirs.
So hot topics.
Hot topics. Okay.
Which is a play on topic-based content, obviously, because everything in this show has to be some kind of a pun or something about content.
Exactly. Yeah. So do we want to just dive straight into the first one? Patrick, take it away.
Yeah, sure. So the article that I brought is a Scriptorium article. So thank you, folks at Scriptorium. And it's the 3 key resources. Resources for the 3 key trends in content operations, which is like a Hello 2024. Like, what do they think the trends are going to be in 2024? I like this because I actually think they're right about a lot of this. But I will note that it's 5. It's not 3. There's 5 things in here.
So nitpicky.
I mean, they could have just said 5. Like, it doesn't have to be 3. I know that people prefer things in 3s, but so I'm going to say what I think. So what they think is the key trends, and we can talk a little bit about them. So their first one is learning and training, and this I think has been a trend that has been it's been kind of evolving and accelerating over the last couple of years. And I've talked to Sarah O'Keefe, who's one of the partners at Scriptorium, about this quite a bit, but I've also seen this in a bunch of other places. And we've seen this in our customers too. Like, a lot of our customers are doing learning and training content. And I think we're starting to see that, like, the buildup of content in learning and training has gotten to a point where it needs to be structured. And I think that's like really interesting because of the way that content comes together. And Jared, I'm sure you've run into this a bit here and there.
I've seen it once or twice. It's coming up more and more often. So if anybody, or for those of you who don't know, my role is I meet with prospects, and I'm solutions engineer. So my job is to like listen to use cases, and evaluate fit with Heretto and whoever the prospect or potential customer is. I also do some work with existing customers, and both existing customers and potential customers. There's a shift where learning and training is coming up more and more often. People are recognizing that the content needs to be structured, and they're recognizing it can be shared with the tech pubs team. That a lot of the content the tech pub teams are generating is something that they want to leverage in courses.
Do you feel like that's been because tech pubs has gotten more proactive in some of the stuff they're creating, or it's just that like we always needed to be taught the reference material and people hadn't make that connection before?
I think it's both. It really depends on who the team is. But the one thing that is constant throughout all of them is that as soon as the learning and training teams, or as soon as the tech pub teams learn that somebody's creating learning content, there is a strong desire to not duplicate it, not have to do twice the work when the content already exists. And structure is what can allow that to become the case, where the reuse can really be built in and leverage it. There's always going to be, people are always going to copy paste, like never going to get away from that. But people are recognizing how error prone it is, and to actually be able to update once, and then tech pubs are updated, or update source content. Tech pubs are updated, coursework is updated. It's pretty powerful.
So we should do a whole components on that, and that would be fun. But I'm going to keep moving because we're already 6 minutes into our 10 minutes allocated for articles. So I'm going to go through the rest of these real quick. So they're also saying that replatforming and restructuring is a theme they believe they're going to see, and they got some good links here. Content as a service, AI and content operations, surprise, and then back to basics. So I think like it's the funny thing is, if you take the AI and content operations out, like the other three, replatforming, content as a service, and back to basics, like in a lot of ways, I think those are all kinds of like different views on the same thing. Because like the getting the platform is why the content as a service is why you do the platforming. Getting back to basics in the way that I think that they're describing it here is kind of like cutting away the stuff that doesn't really matter and getting back to stuff that scales, stuff that's consistent, stuff that just like works really well. Which is in a lot of cases replatforming and putting structure back into your system. So I agree with these trends. I think these are really interesting. Do we do show notes? I don't know how this platform works. How does that work, Ren? Maybe we can just...
That's a great question, but I can definitely link all of our articles in the event. So we'll find a way to make sure that we're pushing out all of our reference material that we're looking at. So if there's a preference on how you prefer to get that information, let us know. If not, then I'll just definitely post it on LinkedIn.
Cool. Still learning this platform. First show, right? All right, cool. So that's my news article.
Yeah,
is it my turn?
Scriptorium. Mm-hmm.
Do I get to go? Okay, you ready for this? I also found mine with Scriptorium.
So to be fair, we didn't actually include the URLs in our notes here. We just had the titles, so we didn't realize we were both picking a Scriptorium article. I had other articles. It's just this was the one that I fell on. So that's a happy coincidence. Thank you again, Scriptorium.
Shout out to the Scriptorium marketing team for getting their content out there so well.
I was just getting overloaded with AI stuff, and I was like, of course we're going to get to that stuff at some point, but given that this is the inaugural live components, I was like, I don't want to do it yet. So I also ended up at a Scriptorium. This was actually a webinar, and it's called Challenges of Moving from Unstructured to Structured Content, and it's an interview, which is great. But one of the things as I was combing through it, I like to read. So I read the transcript like a nerd. I read the transcript instead of actually like listening to it. But so some of the challenges that they call out, Depot called these out, and I think he's right about these. But one of the main ones, this always sticks out to me, and I don't know why. But tools he listed first as one of the main challenges. And I don't think he's wrong about that. I think he's right. I think there are a lot of challenges when you're moving from unstructured to structured, and tools is one of those. It probably sticks out to me because I work for a tool vendor. I think everything on his list, so the things he lists, tools, technology, people, methodologies, those are the main things that he calls out. I think that's right. I think people are always going to be, there's always going to be a shift with people. I think that if the tools continue to improve and they become more accessible to broader groups, I think the other ones that are listed will start to become less onerous for those migrations from unstructured to structured. Now that really puts us as a tool vendor in a tough spot because it means we've got a lot of work to do. We all do. Now, of course, listen, I would be lying if I said I didn't think we do it the best. But we still have work to do, which is great because we want to keep doing work. But if the tools can become so good, then I think the other hurdles that he lists start to become smaller and smaller. So I think we can make some really good progress. I have certain ways I think that can go, but now we're 10 minutes in. So come back next time.
All right. Yeah, I think so. I like that. I like the take on that, and I think that you've actually seen that trend anyways. Like if you go back, and you look at like what you had to do with people and process and all that other stuff, like 10, 20 years ago, to get to the outputs that you really needed with the tools you had back then. Oh my God, it was so onerous, and like it's gotten a lot better. But you're right, we have a long way to go. Ren, we're going to skip your article this week.
That's okay. It wasn't that great anyway.
She admitted that. She admitted it. It was not us. We didn't call it out, even though it was terrible.
So let's move on to the hot topics because those are the ones that we really want to hear. So Patrick, what's yours?
All right. So we're trying to do 90 seconds in each hot topic, right? Mm-hmm. That's the idea. Okay. So I will do mine as fast as possible. So LinkedIn launched this new thing. I think they launched it this week, which is like, it's like an experts type thing. It's almost like a Stack Overflow kind of built into LinkedIn. And it says that it's created and curated by experts at LinkedIn and also their AI, which I think is fascinating. So their ability to like go and put a bunch of questions out into the marketplace and organize them kind of well enough, and then get experts. I mean, it's like catnip for experts, right? Like you can get a little bag. And like, obviously I went in and answered a bunch of questions. So like they're using AI to generate questions to get people to answer them to train AI. And I mean, good on them, right? Like they're getting so much free work out of us. But it's really, it's like a really interesting take on an AI system, because it's kind of like, it's not AI forward. It's obviously AI, but it's a little bit under the hood. So I think there's some really interesting implications there. But I also love the fact that they're trying to like wire in more like, categorized, like taxonomy based information in a LinkedIn instead of just a stream. So I think it's really interesting for a social network to go this direction. That's my hot take. Topic.
Okay. Topic, not a take.
Topic.
Your hot take on your hot topic. There you go.
So I don't know. Have you guys seen that yet?
Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah. Actually, one of our employees was she like helped in the beta of that, and she's killing it over there. She's already one of the top contributors.
Awesome. Nice. I am not, even with all my efforts.
I maybe sometime I'll come back and tell my story about how I got signed up on LinkedIn, Patrick. I don't know if you remember that or not. Anyway,
I think I told you had to. Is that the story?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You told me to look someone up, and I said where, and you said LinkedIn, and I was like, okay. And I started to, and you were like, wait, you don't have a LinkedIn account? And I was like, no. And you're like, you have to get one of those. And I remember saying to you, have to for my job or have to for me personally? And you looked at me and said, you have to have one of those. And I was like, okay. And I signed up under duress. I signed up. Yeah.
All right. You interact with it under duress as well. So,
well, fair enough.
Okay, Jared, what's yours?
All right. So my hot topic, I think that structured content will never be broadly, intentionally adopted by the bulk of content contributors out there.
Wow.
And that's not for like,
mic drop.
That's not for philosophical
End of live.
reasons.
We're done. Bye.
Boom, done. See you guys. It's not for philosophical reasons that they would reject it. It's that people have lives and they're busy. And while we all in the industry think that like structured content, whether it's XML, whether you have some other version of it that you think is the way to go, our lives revolve around it. And so of course we're focused on it. And of course we think it solves lots of problems, and it does. But when we're talking about content creators that could still really benefit from it, they have other priorities. And if the tool vendors, to go back to my earlier bit, if the tool vendors don't do a good enough job of making it accessible, people just aren't going to spend the time. and they will genuinely waste money on other tools that promise the moon and can't deliver simply because they're busy.
Didn't you
And they
didn't you have there was some organization we were talking to recently where there was like 4 things they had tried before they came and started talking to us. It was like
yeah,
yeah. We probably shouldn't go
Yeah.
into what those things are, but it was funny. You're like, they were here, and then they were here, and then here, and now they're, and it's like, so that's an articulation of
Mhm.
that. So is intentionally like the key word in your?
It
in your-
is. Yeah. Like people who are the bulk of content contributors are never going to be like, you know what? I was sitting around thinking how difficult it is for us to get PDF out quickly the way we need to. And I heard about this thing called structured content. And I really went and looked into like, who does that in their free time except nerds like us? Like people that have families and they're busy, like they don't spend their free time looking for ways to make their lives easier.
I have a
Yeah.
follow-on hot topic for next week from this that I'm going to write down as soon as we get off.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'm done.
All right.
I'm done.
Cool.
We're
Well,
1 minute
we're-
over, but no, you Ren, come on, you didn't do one. You gotta get at least a hot
Yeah.
topic in.
Okay, fine. Then I'm going to move on to my second hot topic because I included 2. Is that New Year's resolutions are dumb, and not because I think New Year's resolutions are dumb. It's because the timing of them is dumb. In the natural world, everything goes to sleep during the winter, and so like it's hibernation, it's healing. It's like you need to bring it down. You don't need to start new things. And spring is when everything comes back to life. And so I think that we should move our New Year's resolutions to spring.
Chinese New Year's resolutions.
100%.
You just
Done.
so what you think is New Year's resolutions need a different release cycle.
100%. They need a different release cycle. We need to push that back and make that in a springtime thing.
Okay. All
Love
right.
it.
Well, I
Love
have
it.
no idea what that has to do with content, but I think it's an appropriate way to end. And I would just like to point out that we made it through this show talking about content and not getting off track until the very last minute when Ren brought up.
Yeah.
Technically, the 15 minutes were content, and then my additional minute was just fun.
Yeah, no, I love it. All right,
I
cool.
love it.
We'll take it.
Well,
All right.
fun for us at
Next
least.
week.
See you next week.
All right, see you next week.
Bye.